Have you ever wondered if there's like a blueprint for a society that can withstand any storm? I mean, a community that can handle threats from the outside and also deal with problems from within. Well, today, we're diving into a really powerful passage from the Quran that seems to lay out exactly that, a divine formula for building and, just as importantly, preserving a truly resilient community.
So what is it? What's the secret sauce for a society that just cannot be broken? The Quran actually puts forward an answer in the 3rd chapter, Surah Al-Imran, specifically in verses 100 through 108. And let me tell you, this isn't just about how you should act as an individual. No, this goes way deeper. We're talking about social architecture at its most profound level.
Okay, so these verses are a really crucial pivot point. It's where the Quran kind of zooms out from focusing on personal ethics, how one person should behave, to laying out the principles of building a society. It's basically a manifesto for how to create a collective we that is way, way stronger than just the sum of its parts.
Now, before giving the solution, the Quran does something brilliant. It first diagnoses the problem with just stunning accuracy. It points to 2 main dangers that can unravel pretty much any community. First, there's that subtle, tricky manipulation from the outside, and second, there's the slow, corrosive decay that can happen from within.
So the first warning right there in verses 100 and 101, it tackles that external threat head-on. It's a direct warning. Hey, don't let yourselves be swayed by outside groups who want to undermine what you believe. But then, listen to that second part. It's not just a question, it's this incredibly powerful reminder of the community's own built-in strengths. It's almost like God is saying, wait a minute, how could you possibly fall for that when you have everything you need right here?
And what are those strengths? Well, the Quran points to 2 foundational assets that basically form a community's immune system. First, you've got direct access to divine truth, the actual verses, unchanged. And second, you have a living, breathing model of that truth in the messenger. The core message here is just so powerful. A community that has both the source code and the perfect user guide should, by its very nature, be incredibly resistant to outside corruption.
So after dealing with the danger from the outside, the focus immediately snaps inward. Verse 102 isn't about some foreign enemy. It's about the state of your own heart, about the consistency of your own commitment. This is about that internal decay.
And here we get this incredible term, haqqatu tuqateh. Now, translating it as fear Allah as he should be feared, that barely scratches the surface. This isn't talking about a one-off act of piety or putting on a show for people. It's about maintaining a constant, deep state of consciousness, of responsibility in every single moment of your life. It completely reframes faith, not as some destination you finally arrive at, but as a path you have to walk with total integrity until your very last breath.
All right, so we've seen the dangers, the ones outside and the ones inside. But what's the solution? What's the master key to holding everything together? Well, this is where the Quran introduces one of its most powerful and unforgettable metaphors, the unbreakable rope.
And here it is, verse 103. This is the absolute heart of the whole passage. And hold firmly to the rope of Allah, all together, and do not become divided. That's the core instruction. It's not just about you holding on, but making sure that everyone is holding on together. This is the exact moment where unity stops being a nice idea and becomes a sacred command.
And this rope of Allah, or Hablullah, is really the foundational principle of Islamic sociology. It's such an amazing concept if you think about it. It's the divine connection to the Quran, to the faith itself, that ties every single person, not just up to God, but through that very connection, it ties them all to each other.
So, okay, how does this actually work to build a society? The logic in the Quran is that unity among people isn't the main goal you aim for. Instead, it's the result of something much deeper. You see, there's this vertical bond, right, going up to God, which you establish by holding that rope. Well, the horizontal bond, the brotherhood, the unity between people, is a direct consequence of that. So if that primary vertical connection starts to fray or even breaks, the horizontal one, the one between people, will inevitably and catastrophically shatter.
And this isn't just theory, it's brilliantly shown with a real-world example from that time. The Quran reminds the believers about the Aws and Khazraj tribes in Medina. Now these guys were locked in a bitter, bloody feud that had gone on for generations. No treaty, no truce, nothing man-made could end it. But by grabbing hold of this rope of Allah, their hearts were literally joined and these sworn enemies became brothers. It was a genuine social miracle.
Okay, so having this amazing unifying principle is one thing. But how do you actually protect it? How do you maintain it against all those forces trying to make it decay? Well, this is where the Quran lays out a practical,
institutional action plan. This is the active part of society's immune system.
Verse 104 gives us the mechanism. It's a command to create a dedicated group from within the community whose job is specific and vital, to actively promote good and to actively prevent harm. This isn't just some casual suggestion either. It's framed as a non-negotiable requirement for success.
So this three-step process becomes the pillars of a healthy, self-correcting society. It's an internal system of checks and balances. The idea isn't to just sit back and hope people do the right thing. No, it's about having a proactive institutional responsibility to invite, to command, and to forbid, making sure the community's moral compass stays pointed true north.
Right after that positive command, the Quran hits us with another stark warning, this time in verse 105. And this one is basically a history lesson. It says, point blank, do not make the same devastating mistakes as the communities that came before you.
The key concept here is tafriqa, which means division and schism. The Quran talks about this as the ultimate social disaster. But here's the kicker. What's really truly condemned is division that happens after clear knowledge and proof have already been given. And the implication is just chilling. That these kinds of splits rarely happen because people are genuinely confused. They happen because of ego, because of rivalry, and because of a conscious choice to let go of the rope and walk away from unity.
And this brings us to the final part of the whole formula. The Quran masterfully ties all of these worldly choices, unity or division, holding on or letting go, to their ultimate, irreversible consequences in the hereafter.
Verses 106 and 107 paint this incredibly vivid, powerful picture of the Day of Judgment. It's a moment of truth, where the state of a person's soul, the collective choices of their community, are made visible right on their face. The destiny of the group is sealed, and it's reflected for everyone to see.
It's his stark contrast. The radiant, white faces, they symbolize the success, the peace, the purity of those who held on to that rope together. And the gloomy, dark faces, they represent the deep, deep regret and failure of those who let it go, who chose division even after they had been given perfect clarity. One path leads straight to mercy, the other to consequence.
And the entire passage wraps up with this powerful declaration in verse 108. It reaffirms that these principles are divine truths, and then it makes a critical point about justice. Allah never, ever wants injustice for anyone, for any of the worlds.
So the final verdict is crystal clear. When a society that was built on these principles starts to fall apart, it's not because of some random act of God. The Quran is emphatic on this point. The fall is the direct, logical result of that community's own choices. It's what happens when they consciously decide to let go of the rope.
Which, of course, leaves us all with one final, unavoidable question to think about. If the Quran states that God never wills injustice for anyone, then when a community does fall, where does the responsibility for that truly and inescapably lie?